So why do you care if he sends 17 letters asking to pharmaceutical companies, asking them to lower cost? Well, basically, President Trump has been asking them to lower cost to the lowest price offered by other developed nations, nothing less than that. Following up on an executive order issued in May, it's basically saying your prescription drugs are too high. Are they? Are the prescription drugs in the US too high? That's a question. That's a question that we want to find out. Frankly, at the end of the day, what we're saying is that we should be able to do it, but I am not so sure if this is possible. The cost in the U.S. is very, very expensive. The cost in the U.S. is very. Do you want to know how much it is? Let me tell you. Let me tell you how much the U.S. is paying. You know why is it such a big issue? Simple example. For example, diabetes drugs. It's incredible. Diabetes drugs in the U.S. The price is about the Januvia diabetes drugs is about $547 a month. In Germany, it is 43. In the UK, it is $42. So obviously, something needs to be done. Something needs to be done because these are too expensive. So why are the drugs? And you need to know this because obviously, if he's successful, then it will impact you. If he's successful, it will also impact the pharmaceutical industry, the stock market, the stock of the companies that are linked to such huge decreases. So, at the end of the day, what is Trump looking for here? What is the U.S. administration looking for? Basically, he sent 17 letters, to big pharma, asking them to lower the cost of drugs for U.S. consumers to the lowest price offered in other developed nations. Why are we paying 10 times more? Why? That doesn't make any sense. Well, it does make some sense, otherwise it wouldn't be happening. However, the companies that don't act voluntarily, the federal government will deploy every tool in its arsenal to protect American families from continuous abusive drug pricing practices. Now, someone should take heed of this because, as we've seen before, whenever they send these things out, the government tends to follow up on these things. Now, on one hand, it's a good thing if you're going to get lower drugs. On the other hand, you have to understand that these companies involved, we're talking about AbbVie, Amgen, AstraZeneca, Bristol Myers Squibb, Eli Lilly, Genentech, GSK. I mean, we go after the big guys. Pfizer, Sanofi. So if you work for any of these companies or you know anyone that works in any of these companies, be careful. Because if this works and the people get lower drug prices, the potential impact on these companies, we are talking estimated financial impact for the Medicare negotiation alone, 150 billion, but most favored nation pricing, $300 billion a year. This is a real thing. And don't forget, the $300 billion a year, these companies, I mean, the largest one is Pfizer, and they make about $62 billion in revenues only. So, 300 billion divided by 10 companies, we're talking about $30 billion a year for each of them, and they're making $62 billion. That is a lot of money. That is a lot of money. But why? What is the intent? And this is where the strategy, because what I've said all along is that I think the U.S. administration is after two things. The first thing that they want to do is they're trying to it would appear that they're trying to basically they want to keep the U.S. relevant. And one of the things that the U.S. needs to be relevant has to do with the fact that the clock is ticking in the U.S. Listen to this. And of course, don't forget, I would certainly welcome any of those, what do we call? Those super chats. I love those super chats. Anything you could send my way, I'll take. Anyway, so the U.S. lead in R&D and biotech, which is great. You know, we a bunch of smart people. We got a lot of things done, so that's fine. The thing is this: but it relies heavily on foreign production for 90 to 95% of active pharmaceutical ingredients. Okay, so that's a lot. That's a tremendous amount, a lot. Okay, so we rely heavily on the U.S. rely heavily on that. 90 to 95% of active pharmaceutical ingredients come from non-U.S. countries, and that is amazing. You want to know? Michael, drug prices out of control. I mean, I had to do this video because I want you to realize the world that you're living in. Let me tell you, this world that you're living in right now, the cost of diabetes medicine Januvia is $547 a month, which is basically 10 times more than Canada or UK or Germany. Blood thinner, $558 a month. That's like compared to $100, $108 in Germany, $118 in the UK, and $82 in Canada. Arthritis medicine, forget it. That's almost $7,000 a month compared to $1,000 in Germany and $1,000 UK and Canada. 7 times more money. Now, why? I guess the question is, but why? And this is, I want my subscribers to be educated. I mean, that's my goal here. I want to make sure you understand what is going on. I want to make sure you are an informed consumer, but also an informed investors, because don't forget, this is a potential $300 billion impact. That's a lot of money, $300 billion. Okay, so why is this? Why are drug prices higher in the U.S.? Well, because first of all, there's no national price negotiation as opposed to the UK and other countries. The U.S. government does not directly negotiate prices with pharmaceutical companies for most drugs. Unlike, Germany, the UK, Canada, none of that is being done. They have national health systems that negotiate or set maximum prices. And Medicare was barred by law from negotiating. So you're paying a lot. And I think that what's happening is you're subsidizing everyone else. 2, there's no universal pricing control, meaning that the U.S. lacks federal price controls on prescription drugs. Drug makers, this is nuts. Drug makers can set any price they choose based on what the market will bear. So if you're paying for it and you need it, then you pay for it, and then they'll give it to you, and then you'll pay for it. The patent system and market exclusivity. U.S. law grant longer market exclusivity period and more frequent patent extension. This delays the entry of genetic drugs. This thing is all rigged up. The lack of transparency. The U.S. drug supply chains involve pharmacy benefit managers, insurers, wholesalers, pharmacies. Who the heck knows who's making the list price? Often inflated discounts. It's a very big mess and no one understands. But at the end of the day, you're paying 10 times more than anyone else. Direct to market advertising, fragmented insurance system. The point is, there's no price negotiation, weak generic competition, no price transparency, fragmented insurance. This is a doozy. And what does that mean? You end up paying $547 when everybody else is paying $43. So the clock is ticking. Um, and so how much can they lose? They're going to lose. They could lose 300 billion through this thing. Of course, you're going to say, well, why is Trump doing that? Well, the U.S. administration is doing that. They're not the first one having thought about it. Believe it or not, in 2003, Medicare Modernization Act, okay, what it did, it created Medicare Part D. What it didn't do, it prohibited Medicare from negotiating drug prices. Remember the Affordable Act? You remember the Affordable Care Act with Obama, 2010? It introduced rebates and closing the donut hole, but it did not improve direct price controls. Kevin says capitalism run amok. Correct. And what else do we have? We have the 2020, 2025. No, don't forget, this administration, whenever they want to do something, they're going to do something. So don't think that this thing is going to go away because they're going after the pharmaceutical companies. In 2020, most favored nation rule, that was a new rule by the Trump administration, proposed tying U.S. drug prices to the lowest price in other developed countries. What it failed? Legal challenges, implementation complexity, and last-minute nature. Now you have to understand that what's amazing is how much the administration is actually going after all these items, multiple items at a time. I mean, they're going after the tariffs. Obviously, we've heard about that. They're going after the Fed chair, which obviously there's a new guy coming in. I mean, he still needs to be voted in by the Senate, confirmed by the Senate. But the point is that it is happening, right? He's got a new guy in there. Then also we have the situation with China. They're negotiating extremely hard with China right now. There's some issues. They can't get along. China needs to sell these items. The U.S. wants the rare minerals. I mean, the tension is building. It's palpable. It's gonna be an issue at some point because they're trying very much to get this thing taken care of, to understand what's happening, and quite frankly, it is becoming very difficult. Next, the administration is going after Russia, right? Mix that will inflated drugs is a disaster. People are filing bankruptcy. Yes, it is extremely expensive. And I mean, it's a good thing that someone is trying to do, the administration is trying to do something, but they're doing a lot of different things at a lot of different time, and that is becoming a large issue. But at the end of the day, that's an issue. Next, they're going after Russia, like I said, because basically Russia needs to be reined in. And that's part of the strategy, which is a two-pronged strategy, right? The first thing they're trying to do is they're trying to protect, I mean, obviously the industry, pharmaceutical products and all that I just talked to you about and the cost there. But at the same time, they're also trying to make sure that China, they're trying to make sure that Russia, and then trying to make sure that India really don't get too close together. Why? Well, because if they do, then it's going to be a problem because then the U.S. is stuck with the dying industry becoming irrelevant, and then some of the strongest other countries are getting together. And this is part of that strategy. You need to understand that everything that is being done is really part of a strategy, right? They're not doing it one thing at a time. And you are my subscribers, and don't forget to subscribe. I want you to understand what's happening. That's the whole idea with this thing. You need to be aware. You need to be confident. Why? Because you need to understand what's happening, because this will permeate through your jobs. This will permeate through your your stock portfolio. Okay, so it is a lot of issue that you need to do and you need to deal with, and this is important for you to understand. It's very important to understand because at the end of the day, it is key to realize what the strategy is because that you may not today, not tomorrow, but it will impact you. It will definitely impact you. Hopefully, you're aware of this, what's going on, and it doesn't really impact you too much. I mean, that's the idea of this channel. I mean, this channel, what this channel is really about is a black swan. This is a black swan channel. Well, what the heck is a black swan? Well, basically, what we're looking for you, all you need to do is listen. Maybe send me a super chat for, I don't know, $1 or whatever they charge these things nowadays. Subscribe to the channel. Um, Subscribe to the channel. Like this thing. I mean, that's all you need to do. But the information that I'm bringing to you, the information is very key because the information that you get it from other places now, I'm concerned the information tends to be biased, tends to be incomplete, and frankly, some people don't understand what's going on because, obviously the pharmaceutical companies are also sponsoring a lot of these programs that you're watching. So, that's something to be said. So Russia is a big problem. Of course, the Maxwell thing is, in fact, they're having a huge meeting in the White House right now today about that. I don't know if you're aware of this or not, because they want to know what's going on. So back to the pharma. It has been attempted before in 2003, 2010, 2020. Even Biden tried to do something in 2022. The first will win. He allows Medicare to negotiate prices for certain high price. Okay, for certain high price. And that was always an issue, like the Biden Inflation Act. So finally, Medicare is able to negotiate prices. So all the thing that the current administration is doing, I mean, they may not do it always the way people would like it to do, but all the things that they're doing, a lot of it needs doing, right? This thing with the big pharma, it's a big issue. It's a huge issue. You're paying 10 times more than other countries are paying for the same drug. So that's a big issue, and that's a reason why a lot of efforts are being done. You may like it, you may not like it how it's done, but the previous and the previous and the previous administration all tried to do it, and they can never get it done. Biden got close with a good win by saying basically allows Medicare to negotiate the price with certain high-cost products. Okay, fine, we'll let it happen, but only certain costs, not everything. And it also caps out-of-pocket costs for seniors. That's something. But apart from that, it is the barriers are basically the lobbying. Let's put it this way. Do you know how much money the pharmaceutical industry spends over lobbying Congress? Okay? A huge amount. They're basically spending $300 billion lobbying Congress. And what's interesting, what is extremely interesting, I mean, coincidental, you would say, is that the actual cost, the potential, how much could they stand to lose, right? The financial impact under the most favored nation pricing, because that's a bad one, the potential is around 300 billion as well. They stand to lose just as much as they are spending on lobbying, 300 billion. That is not a small amount, my friends. This is not a small amount because it's not a small amount because it is about, I mean, when you look at AstraZeneca and Sanofi is 40 billion and Pfizer is 60, that's about, divided by 10, about 30 billion, about half of their sales they would lose in profit. That is huge. So I would be very careful in terms of that cost, right? I would be very careful in whether or not that could happen. So I'm concerned. Okay, I'm concerned that there is a need, there is an uncertainty there, and we have to be very careful. And it was attempted before; it did not succeed. Right? So, okay, fine. So where do we get? Because what we're saying is, we're saying two things. We're saying on one end that we're spending a lot of money on pharmaceutical item, but on the other end, we're saying, we're losing the war, we're losing the battle in terms of making in this country. That's right. These are American companies making it overseas. That's why the administration wants to charge 200%. Say, no, make it here. Okay, we're paying just as high anyway. So where does the U.S., and I want my subscribers to be informed here, right? I want to understand what's happening. Where does the U.S. get its pharmaceutical products? Well, active pharmaceutical ingredient, API, are the raw materials component that make drugs work. Where do we get it? Where does it come from? Well, it mostly comes from India. China, dog whisper. It comes from India and it comes from China. 26 to 30% of your drugs come from India, and between 13 and 20% from China, 10 to 15% from Ireland, believe it or not. Germany 7%, it's Switzerland 5%, and here comes Switzerland. Did you see what happened with Switzerland? What's going on with Switzerland? What happened? What are we doing to these people? First of all, the administration told them 31%. Then they said, okay, well, Europe got 15%. We should be okay. Then pay attention. Then look at what's going on. And then before you know it, it was 39%. You say, what? What do you mean 39%? It's Switzerland. This is not Russia. What do you mean you're charging? What do you mean you're charging us 39%? Why? What did we do to you? Well, you did two things. First of all, you need to understand, and this is kind of the story behind the tariffs, is that Switzerland charges about 29% if you want to import. If you want to import any type of agricultural program in Switzerland. Everything else is okay, 0. But for that, they're protecting themselves. So they have the U.S. is not the first country to say, let's protect our borders, right? You may sound like it's a big deal that everybody say, wow, I can't believe this is happening. The U.S. is doing that. No. They're also doing it. Everybody wants to protect their own turf, and it's totally normal. You want to close your door. You want to protect your kids. That's what they're doing. So then what is the issue? Well, the issue is that with Switzerland, they also happen to provide 5% of the pharmaceutical item to the U.S. They happen to be plus charging the U.S. a lot if they want to import items from the U.S. having to do with agriculture. They want to protect the cheesemakers or whatever. Out of 3, they really didn't bother having a negotiation with the U.S. administration. They thought that this was not serious. It was a big snafu. And unfortunately, they didn't realize, because they're such a small country, that frankly, at the end of the day, the administration right now is only bothering with the big guys. The administration is bothering with Russia, with India, with China, because they want to keep these people apart. The rest is kind of chicken liver, if you want to think about it. I mean, Taiwan is not having a great time today. Taiwan wanted to come to visit the U.S. The government, and they say, no, don't come. Not today. Don't come today. We're busy. We're talking to China. In fact, what I want you to do is I would like you to invest up to $400 billion. You used to invest $15 billion a year ago. I want $400 billion now. Now, of course, these may sound like strong tactics, but you need to understand one thing, and this will impact you, and this will impact the stock market. You need to understand that the U.S. is kind of running out of time, and the clock is ticking. What do I mean by that? Well, I will tell you that the U.S. share of global manufacturing output has declined from 30% in 2000 to 16% today. Critical industries like semiconductors, batteries, steel, machine tools are increasingly dominated by China, South. I mean, I know we've heard it over and over and over. Who cares? Well, I don't know. You probably care if they close or they're going to close your factory to send it overseas. That you're going to care, unfortunately. So that's a fact. Now, of course, you need to understand. Let's not get panicky either, in the sense that, yeah, but we're only talking about 20% of the GDP of the U.S. We're not talking about the entire country is no. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that 20% of the industry is in trouble, and unfortunately, what is left, we're talking about semiconductors, right? Basically, within 5 to 7 years, if the U.S. doesn't move a little bit more faster, it's going to be in trouble. EV component, 3 to 5 years for batteries. Steel, 5 to 10 years. Still some more time. Generic drugs, 3 to 5 years. In 3 years, it's too late. You cannot, because don't forget, it's not just what the administration right now is saying to these people, bring it over here, bring the factories over here. But by the time you go, you bring, you build, we're talking 3 years. Well, that's why the idea that the administration is basically saying, okay, fine, you know what? Bring me some money. And that's why the thing with Taiwan is basically saying, I need $400 billion from you. And I want a lot from you because you're next to Taiwan. And if I don't, good luck to you. And unfortunately for Switzerland, it's also a smaller country. And frankly, this thing with the huge amount of drug that they bring into the country, which 5% is not negligible for the size of the country, that is an issue. That is a problem. And that is why when the president of Switzerland came over, she was told, no, president can't see you right now. You're going to see Marco Rubio. Supposedly she made some sort of an offer for a lower tax rate. Now, I want to explain something about the tax rate. Is that, and don't forget the super chats, by the way. It keeps me going. Buy me coffee or something. What you need to understand about those tariffs, if you take anything, if you understand any of this, what's happening out there, because it's going from all over the place, that the country is not paying the tariffs, right? Switzerland doesn't pay tariffs. The reason they're panicky is because they are concerned that if it's 39% tariffs, that's going to take a bite out of their GDP. It's going to slow their production. It's going to slow the economy in Switzerland. This is serious business. Big business and serious business, which means that it doesn't matter who pays or doesn't pay. Nobody's going to be buying anything from Switzerland because at 39%, it is too much money. Now, what's going to happen is if you have a pharmaceutical company or whatever that brings it over, because that's kind of what he's doing. I mean, he's only hitting 5% of the market. It's not a lot. But he's saying to these pharmaceutical companies that are buying the product and bringing them into the U.S., it's going to cost you money. Of course, I don't think it's going to hurt them that much because they're already making so much money that, frankly, I don't think it's going to make a big difference. But it is still a huge amount of money. And in addition to that, you have to realize that the pharmaceutical sector is in trouble because you're getting most of your drug from overseas. Now, as long as everybody plays fair and everybody plays nice and everybody gives everything what they're supposed to get, then it's okay. But is this what you think is going to happen? I don't think so. I don't think so. And the concern that I have is that they're running out of time. I mean, 3 to 5 years is not a lot of time. and I want my subscribers to be aware that that is not, that you're going to be impacted. You're going to be impacted. Why do I say that? Well, I'm saying that because at the end of the day, you need to realize one thing is that these decisions that have been made or not made, frankly, are pretty big things. When we're talking about the fact that they are in the process right now of essentially, I mean, all those letters that went out, lots of letters went out, 17 letters. Isn't that a good thing? What is a good thing? Geodonas, what are you talking about? What do you mean it's a good thing? What I mean by that is that no, it's not a good thing that these people are being paid all that money. That is not a good thing. It's just that the concern, obviously, is that the U.S. slowly and surely. So the administration is basically fighting two fronts, right? It's trying to share up industrial production, and you need industrial production. Why do you need industrial production? You need industrial production because the stuff. I'm not talking about. Yeah, I'm not talking about sneakers and cars and T-shirts. No, we're talking about pharmaceutical products, right? That's a lot, right? Pharmaceutical product. We're talking about important items that's coming from a foreign country. So they're trying to basically decide what to do, and so the administration is caught between making sure this industrial production comes into play, and this guy needs to take care of India and all their problems. Yeah, I mean India. Look what happened with India. I mean India, believe it or not, is a very, very strong ally of the U.S. India, believe it or not, India is more reliant on the U.S. than China or Russia. And don't forget to subscribe to this channel, coming to you every day with some important information. India is relying on the U.S. and is more. How is it relying on the U.S.? It's relying on the U.S. because of trade. It's relying on the U.S. because of technology. It's relying on education and talent. It sends its students and Indians to the U.S. so they get educated, they learn, about all these things. So that's extremely important. That is very important, and that's the reason why they're doing it. Now, of course, they need Russia for defense. They need Russia for energy. And the concern, obviously, that's happening is that what has happened recently is that my understanding, I'm checking my information, but I believe that India is supposed to have a meeting with Russia very soon. Modi will visit China for the SCO summit in August 31st, just when you're trying to get their attention. What's going on? Making the first trip since 2019. You made it think, well, who cares if India visits? No, you have to understand. You got to think things 2, 3, 4, 5 steps ahead. What's happening is China and India, they're getting together. They're getting close. They're getting cozy, and China is there too, and Russia. And Trump is not able to get their attention. Was it pushed to September? SCO Summit, August 31st to September, making the first steps in 2019. He will also meet Japanese PM in Tokyo in August 30th. Now, of course, I think that he's meeting the Japanese PM because he doesn't want to just go to see China. But and of course, Putin plans to visit India. I mean, all the pieces are there. I mean, you may care, you may not care, you may understand, you may not understand. I really can't, explain it to you or do it. But that was happening. There's a quad. On his own hand, and the U.S. government trying to have a quad summit sometime in later on. But they wanted to have the U.S., India, Australia, Japan. But India remains reluctant to confirm a date now that ties with Washington are strained. Why are they strained? Because Washington says stop buying oil from Russia. Why? Because, well, what they tell you is because Trump is trying. Why we couldn't have passed that putting buyer up to trade was a bad thing. Yes. What's happening is they're trying to basically have India. You think that Russia is basically doing this because they want to stop the war in Ukraine, but I don't think that's the reason why. I mean, at the end of the day, the big concern is China. They're all congregating around China, and they're close. They're next to each other. And the U.S. is across a continent away. That's far away. What are you going to do so far away? That's not going to be an easy thing to do. So I think that is the concern that they have. They have the concern that the U.S. may not be able to keep these people apart. That's a problem. That's a big problem, and it's a big problem because if you can't keep these people together, apart, then they are going to get closer and closer and closer. And if they get too close, you're going to have a problem prying them apart. And right now, it feels a lot like they are getting closer together. As we could see, these people are. So the administration is desperately trying to get, in a way, the question is this the right way of doing it? Because you're upsetting a lot of people, you're pissing a lot of people, probably, or you're scaring the kids. But again, we don't have that much time. The U.S. does not have that much time. And at the speed that is going, that's going to be a problem. So basically, the letters went out on July 31st. I mean, pretty straightforward. 17 major pharmaceutical firms, Pfizer, the big guys basically got it. And they have exactly until September 29th to comply with the most favored nation drug pricing agenda, which I think it's amazing because you're basically telling them that you want to be charged. I want you to start charging what you're charging the other countries. Now, of course, as usual, I've told you before, do not look for what is happening in front of you. Understand that what they're really trying to do. What are they trying to do? So now we are the one putting barriers. It was the other people, wasn't it? The Chinese, don't blame them. Well, my friends, I will tell you what they're really trying to do, because they know very well. I mean, I know it. Now you know it. I'm sure they know it. That they're not going to take a $300 billion hit. By lowering the prices, right? Does anybody knows why are they doing it? Let's see. Let's see if we could do a poll. How do we do a poll with this thing? Let's say, will the U.S. government, let me see what you think, succeed in this effort? Start the poll. Let's see. Do you think that the U.S. will succeed in with these letters that they're sending out, that it's going to work out, that the pharmaceutical companies are going to basically say, okay, fine, I'll lower my prices because I don't want to mess around with you guys. 50%, 50%, 67%. So it's no seven. Oh my God. Yes, 50, 60, 67. No, 67%. Let's see what the result. Wow, most of you say no. Well, come on. Well, there's 20, 30, 33% that says, well, maybe it's actually going to happen. Maybe it's a thing. Well, maybe you're right. Maybe it does happen. 50%. Okay. All right. 50-50. Here we go. Because the reason will the UN get succeed? So we're at 50%. Hello, Professor Oak. It's 50%. So basically what we're saying is the reason, what I'm saying is the reason why Trump, why the US administration is actually telling these people, all 17 of them, not just one, all of them at the same time. I want you to cut, and this is, maybe you understand something about strategy. I want you all to cut your prices now by August, by September. By September 29th, right? The letters outline 4 main action, okay? I want you to extend MFN pricing to all Medicare patients. Most favored nation. That means that instead of charging $500 for your medicine for the diabetes, I want you to charge $54, basically. That's how much it costs in Germany per month. Ensure that any new drugs are priced the same or higher abroad. Reinvest any increased foreign revenues back into reducing U.S. drug costs and enable direct-to-consumer sales. I don't think you realize how serious this is, because it is serious. The reason it is serious is that, okay, let's end the poll. Will the U.S., wow, poll complete, 6 votes. 50-50. I like it. You see, this is what, like 2,600 people have been watching this thing, but people don't follow. People don't understand. People don't want to know. The same drug test in Mexico costs 3 times more. Yes, I told you. I said it costs a lot more. And I'll give you the price. But basically, the reason I think he's doing it is because what he wants, what the government, the U.S. government wants to do, is they want to make it impossible for them to do it, and therefore, you have no choice but to make it here. This is another reason. But when you ask something so impossible, I mean, asking Modi to basically stop buying oil from Russia. What do you want the guy to do? He's getting 30% of his oil from Russia. Okay? 30%. You mean he's going to suddenly say, okay, you know what? Fine, I'll buy my oil from where? From the US and pay full price and wait, readjust all the refinery and everything? It takes too long. It is not worth it. It is not going to happen. Right? So what he wants them to basically then, build this, what I want, that because they know each other. I mean, they all know each other. Basically, he's going to say, well, then, build this thing make it here. Make it in this country. At least if we pay more, American workers will have the jobs. But from places around the world, it's all genetic, synthetic, and spill work anyway. Yeah, I mean, basically, I will tell you that drug prices, right, are very high. And that's that's always a problem here. What do we have? Let me show you. I mean, the prices that the U.S. is paying is just horrendous, right? Arthritis medicine. That's amazing. Didn't cost that much money. $69.22 a month. Germany, $1,000. Diabetes. Diabetes costs $547 a month in Germany, 43. It's literally 10 times more money. It needs to align. Yes, Tammy Wilkinson. Correct. What's happening here? Well, I'll tell you what's happening. What's happening is, and that comment with Australia by Tammy makes total sense. Why it makes total sense? Because look what happened very recently when I did the story about the tariffs. That basically, what is India? What is the U.S. India was doing something very, very cute recently. I mean, they basically going to. I mean, the U.S. wanted to get together with Australia, with Japan, and India recently. If you look at the execute order for lowering of the drug, it amounts to a strongly worded letter to a pharmaceutical company to not be mean and lower drug prices. You see, and this is where you have to be careful because remember what they say about the taco trade, right? This is not going to hold. This is not serious. You need to realize that whenever you need to understand where you get your information, okay? It's not just it is a strongly worded letter. That's true. And you're going to see what happens later on. I'm telling you right now that Switzerland, that lady, the president of Switzerland, flew all the way from Switzerland 2 days ago to meet with the president, and nobody was there to open the door. She got Rubio to talk to her. President of another country met with the secretary of that. So you cannot use it from in other countries. You can sue them in the United States. You cannot sue. Well, that's an all different ballgame altogether. But the point is, these people are actually doing it that way. They are purposely having the issue that those pharmaceutical products are becoming more and more expensive. And you know why it is so expensive? Why? Because there's no national price negotiation. The U.S. government does not directly negotiate prices with pharmaceutical companies for most drugs. In contrast, many countries, Germany, UK, Canada, have national health systems. Medicare was barred by law from negotiating prices. No universal pricing. The U.S. lacks federal pricing control of prescription drugs. And obviously, you need to pass a law, and to pass a law, you need to get to Congress, and to get to Congress, you need to get through the lobbyist. Drug makers can set any price they choose. Think about this. Any price they choose. I remember I was in England too long ago, and they were showing the price of Ozempic. It was almost nothing compared to in this country. Diabetes is $547 a month versus 43. It's humongous. There's a lack of transparency. There's a direct-to-consumer advertising. The U.S. is one of only 2 countries in the world which allows prescription drug ads on TV. Have you ever thought about that? This drives up demand and allows companies to spend billion on marketing costs, often pass to the consumer. I mean, you go to Europe, you never see advertising for medicine. But why not? You're charging 10 times. Why not? Why? Well, because I could try. Why? Because basically the lobbyists probably are doing a pretty good job from preventing any changes to the law. And of course, some people say, as you know, one of my subscribers basically said, this is a so strongly wording letter. Well, let's find out. We're going to find out soon enough if it's a strongly worded letter. It's gonna be tough. The only issue, of course, that we're having, I mean, this is just one iota of all the things that are happening in this country that will all impact you and impact your portfolio. Now, having said that, speaking of portfolio, so wow, that must have been pretty bad, against those companies. What about, well, believe it or not, the pharmaceutical stocks essentially shrug off Trump drug price letter. They say these are just, strongly worded letter, like what he said, strongly worded letter. Measures laid out in letters of 17 companies. Some drug stocks recovered Friday after the news. Thursday, Lilly went up 2.4%. The ARCA pharmaceutical index went up 1.1%. So basically, they kind of shrugged it off. Tying prices to other countries' lowest rate is often referred to as the most favored nation, FMN. Even if these measures were to take effect, the scope of the impact could be more limited than that the industry had feared. Wouldn't this be so bad, say one of the analysts? He estimated the proposal could reduce industry revenue by billions of dollars, but still a relatively small percentage of its overall revenue. So, not such a big deal. Overall, it remains an overhang for the drug group and something that is unlikely to completely go away in the near term. Importing foreign price controls will undermine American leadership, turning patients and workers. One thing that they're saying, the reason they're spending so much money or not spending enough money is basically because, what's happening. They just, it's just not enough money involved. Right? And they say, well, if I can't spend on that, then I can't do research. So, my friend, how does this fit in the grander scheme of things? Because that's what we're about here. We're about to understand all the principles, all these pieces of the puzzle, and then what is it? How does it all fit together? Well, right now, this channel, and don't forget to subscribe, I am basically monitoring around 10 risks in this, in the economy of the U.S. mostly, but it also is impacting other countries, right? So right now, what is going on with the economy in the U.S.? What's going on? Let me ask a question. Make sure. Is the U.S. economy strong? I'm curious. Hopefully I get more than 6 people this time. Come on, let's get together. Is the U.S. economy strong? Let me see the response. Yes. Yeah, 67% so far. And this is a real pulse of the people, right? Don't forget what you're reading, because you're reading, people will tell you, oh, you know what? No, the economy is not doing well. Look what's happening with the low employment. Because, if you feel you're not doing well, then you won't do well, then you will not do well. So a lot to do with perception. I don't know if you saw a couple of days ago, the government, they brought in this guy with all the number of the BLS showing that how well the new administration was doing, and then the people at the BLS weren't doing such a great job after all. So, but the point is, need to get business out of government. That's right. So far we had 50-50. Listen, it can't be 50. There's no such thing as a world in 50-50. It's either 70 or... How well is the economy doing? Please let me know. There's like 40 people. Let's find out. I want to know. I want to understand what's happening here. Now, what's also, and basically they're telling you that the economy is not doing well because only 73,000 jobs added. But at the same time, we could say the other way. Say, well, hold on. The economy grew by 4%. in 3% in the second quarter. So take it easy. Unemployment is only 4% or close to it, which is lower than many more. It's lower than Canada, lower than Europe. Inflation 2.5%. I mean, it depends if you're looking at half full or half empty. Look at the numbers. 56%, right? Totally random. I don't know these people. Just asking them to give me some advice. But 56% of the people are saying that the economy is doing well. 56%. Business interests in government are killing this country. Well, I mean, I don't disagree. Okay? So 56% of you feel that that's what's happening. So now, the economy right now, let me give you the result of the poll. Okay? Wow, 50-50. At least we're 10 more votes. So there's no recession out there, people. Right now, in this poll by the Black Swan, we do not have a recession, as you could see, according to these people. Maybe it's just pure coincidence. I mean, if it was really bad, I would have gotten like a bad number. So we're at 50-50. So how is the economy doing? Well, right now, the economy has grown by 3% in the second quarter. Employment numbers are pretty rough right now, I have to admit. Pretty rough right now. We had 15,000 first. We added 15,000 jobs in the first month. In May, I think 19,000, some ridiculous number, which were adjusted downwards, unfortunately. And the numbers for July were 73,000 jobs added, and no good, according to some people. It's true. It's a bad number. It's not the greatest number in the world. How is the unemployment? It's 4%, people. How bad is 4%? It's less than half of the projected. No, I mean, half people think that the economy is doing well, which that's where you want to be. You want to be in the middle, right? Yeah, unemployment is not doing too bad. Cost of living has also gone up 1 point, which is in the lower side of the. Yeah, I mean, it is going up, but the inflation is moderate. What do you think the stock market is doing so well? The stock market is doing so well because, they're looking at the numbers. They're saying, I don't see it. I hear you. I hear the warnings. I hear all the bells and whistles, but we're not seeing it. And of course, now you're going to see even less because whatever you were seeing with the BLS, it would appear that it's not even real. Now, the stock market is up, believe it or not. It's not doing as well as Europe, but it's not going down. So the market is doing great. In fact, I had some great recommendation. It's in safe mode prior to protections for all those damaging tariffs. Well, I mean, right now it's assuming that the tariffs are a passing thing and it's not going to be a big thing and it's just resuming. I mean, I will tell you, well, I don't have it here with me. I should bring it up. But if you access my, here, let me give you free access to my Patreon channel for months. You will see that basically the stock that I picked recently are doing quite well. And I mean, it's amazing how what it's doing, but it's doing great. How do I do this? Let me give you access to, and you will see a lot of these stocks are doing fantastic. So the market itself is doing well. I would not say the market is not doing well. The market is doing quite well. That is not concerned at all. Okay, hold on. Membership. Let me give you this free promotion. Sorry. Meanwhile, keep talking. The American dollar used to be worth more than, yeah, well, that's true too. Gifts. Copy. Yeah, let me put that in the chat. If you click on that link, I think the first 10 of you get free access for 1 month. Boom. Hey, Tammy. Thanks, Tammy. Thanks a lot. Appreciate it. I'll have a cup of coffee on you. Tammy Wilkson. Who is Tammy? Tammy should say something. Trying to spread the word here, Tammy. Trying to spread the word. How can the market be doing well when all our trading games are being treated like trading partners? Well, I will tell you what's happening, right? If you are I mean, it's a fact that some of them are pissed. That's true. I mean, some of them are very upset. I mean, look at the woman from Switzerland, the president of Switzerland. Thank you, Tammy, again. I like the thing like that. It's very nice. That woman from Switzerland, unfortunately, came over, and she, she's upset. She's upset because she thought she had a great relationship with the U.S. and now they're being treated like that. And and as for the 20 inflation increase, yeah, that's a big issue. So a lot of these people are upset on one end, and I could understand because she thought she was going to get 15%, 31%, then 15. Now she's getting 39. She's getting the highest number of all, and India at 50% also is getting the highest. So these are huge impact, huge numbers that you're seeing on these people. These are not small numbers. I don't know what the organization, U.S. government is going to do with the 50% on Modi and India, because that's gonna hurt. But he's not budging. I'm telling you right now, which is a warning sign in itself that they have already cemented relationship with China and India and Russia. Working and listening, Tammy. Tammy, you know what this is about? I'm just giving you a free lesson here. Free course on the entire world of everything having to do with the stock market, the dollar. By the time, if you listen to me every day, by the time you will, because believe it or not, to put this thing together, it takes me like a good 2 hours to understand what's happening, and then analyze it, and then tell you about it. But it is not something that comes out of my mind. I'm just not talking out of you know what? So those people are very upset at the U.S., extremely upset at the U.S. But you have to understand also from the U.S. point of view, what is happening is the fact that it's running out of time. I mean, Trump is running out of time. The presidency is running out of time because next year they have elections, right? Are they going to stay there? Because if Congress goes to the Democrat, rightfully, if the Republicans don't do a good job, that's going to be a problem. The tariffs are on the highest rate they have been since, yes, in the 30s. You're right. We are in a recession and we are going at it. Well, that's what certain people say. But I will tell you, as of today, we had minus 0.5% GDP growth in the first quarter, okay, but we had 3% in the second quarter. That is not recession. Yes, it's a bad economy in the sense that the little bit worrisome is the fact that the job creation numbers were very low in May, in June, and July. That's a fact. And of course, a fact, and we don't know it yet, but they're wondering when will all these companies, and we'll do a video on that, but when will all these companies pass on the will they pass on the inflation numbers, the rates? Right now, they're not. Um, all of these points to be a bad negative economy, regardless of how the numbers look at the moment. This is a you know what, Andala, you make a good point. This is not an easy thing to understand because there are so many points, and this thing moves very slowly, but it is moving. And the question that everybody's asking right now, and this is a question that they're going to ask the Feds in the U.S. They're going to say, "Listen, what are you going to do? Are you going to lower the rates? Tariffs are not good." Well, if we could all get along, if you come over the U.S. and build everything else, it would be fantastic. But they also want to make their country great again, so they don't want to do that either. So it's a give and take. Where do you want to live it off? What do you want to do? Do you want to? I mean, there's another way of doing it. You could go force the people to come over here, and that's called war. You don't want that either. But yet, if you don't do anything, I'm telling you right now, and this is just check it out. In the next couple of years, the U.S. is losing ground heavily in certain key industries. Of course, you're going to say, but why do you want to build it here? Who cares? Leave it over there. Yeah, as long as the gates are open. But when you see that India, China, and these people are getting together and they may be closing together very close and not looking at the U.S. and not meeting and not listening or whatever, they may be already seeing the U.S. as irrelevant. That's not good either. You don't want to be irrelevant and alone and with the currencies that no one wants. So going back to what I was saying about the stock market and the economy is doing okay right now. Will the cost be passed on to the will the cost be passed on? We shall see. Maybe, maybe not. Maybe it's a one-time cost. But whatever happens, I will tell you that right now the pressure is on at the Fed to lower the rates. We're lowering the rates. Why? Because three of them are going to be Trump appointees, although the third one is probably not going to be appointed in time. So that's a problem. But who knows? Maybe it happens. Maybe it doesn't. Okay? So the next thing that needs to happen is what's happening to the stock market. Well, the stock market is doing just fine right now, and it's going up every time. And by the way, I gave you free access for a month for my, take a look at it. Doesn't cost you anything. See some of the stocks that I have in there. I picked 3 of them and they're doing great. So, now, of course, they are undervalued. They are small. They are doing rare minerals. They have growth and they are small caps, which nobody wants up until today. So right now, the opportunity are in small caps, by the way. So, But having said that, the market right now, if you look at the PE ratio, is extremely high. Yes, the tariff pays the tariff if they buy the foreign. Well, ultimately, and that's a big question. Ultimately, I would say yes, but right now it's not happening. Right now, the cost is being borne mostly by the corporates, or they have ordered enough. So they're holding off on actually doing it. Will they do it? Will they not do it? And you have to be very careful as to the news that you hear, because unfortunately nowadays, and I understand it's a business, right? Look at me trying to make, they are catering to the people that want to listen to them. So you're telling them what they want to hear, basically. I hate to say it, but that's how it is. This is one thing that my channel is a little bit different, is that I think what's happening without going one way or going the other way. So you have this is the way news used to be. I hate to tell you. There was a time where you listened to the news and you were told what was going on. You were not told what you wanted to hear, then it's not news. Then it's, it's something else, but it's not news. You want to know what's happening, because at the end of the day, it's still going to happen. regardless of what you're saying about the industry, that this is the administration is doing a bad job, it's doing a good job, it is happening. What you need to know, and this is where this channel is important, you need to make sure you understand what's happening so you're preparing yourself to know what's going to happen next. You don't want a black swan. And my concern always is that you are never going to see it coming. You are never going to see the business they brought. It was at the tariff when the inventory runs out. Yes, they are forced to be moved. That's correct. And Robin says, and just to repeat, the money and that was not free, shutting down the country and spreading the funding over to the well, yeah, no. All these things are going to happen, unfortunately, and all these things are going to be expensive. The thing is, what you want to make sure is that you understand what's happening, so you don't get caught off guard, because you frankly have no power to do anything about it right now. You're not in charge of anything. All you're in charge of is, at least if you have money in the stock market, you should know that right now it is overvalued. It cannot afford any mishap. A mishap could be well, we're going to lower the rates, and then we are going to have a huge amount of inflation. That's a problem. You don't want that. Otherwise, you're back to 1980 all over again. You don't want that, right? You definitely don't want to have that kind of situation happening. So that's for the stock market. So right now, overvalued, but keep on chugging along. The economy, good today. Although I will tell you, people that are saying that there's a recession have been saying recession for the past year, and including the president of the CEO of JP Morgan. He has been talking about this forever, and yet we haven't seen it. But then again, I just did a poll with all my subscribers, and half of the people said that the economy is fine. And you see it because you're in the middle of it. The only problem is that you can't talk to all the people at the same time. That's the thing. And even if you talk, and maybe some people wouldn't want to hear what you have to say if you don't tell exactly what they want you to say. Anyway, the dollar is weak. The dollar is getting weakening more and more and more, unfortunately. That's what's happening with the dollar. But they want it that way. They want to keep the dollar weak. And the reason they want to keep the dollar weak is because it is a good thing to keep it weak, and it's a good thing to keep it weak because it allows for the countries overseas, when they buy something in the U.S., it is cheaper. Of course, if those same people buy the stock market in the U.S., that's also not good, because it's going to be they're not doing just as well. But one thing you have to remember: this whole thing, this entire thing, revolves around just one thing, and one thing only, is the fact that the dollar is a reserved currency. For the longest time, I really never understood what a reserve currency was. Like, okay, so because you're in it, you're saying, what is the big deal? I mean, the dollar, what, right? The dollar is the dollar, right? No, you don't understand. The dollar is the only currency that can be used and printed, and whatever value you say it's worth, that's how much it's worth. Right? Meaning that if you want to buy anything in the world, you could use a dollar. And you want more, you could print more. And that's what's going to happen. They're going to print more money. They're going to print more dollars going forward, unfortunately, to pay for the debt. They have no choice. And this is where The most incredible thing is happening is that the dollar was weaponized, during with the Russian war, right? Basically, what Biden did, he told Putin, listen, you're out of the dollar business, and you're going to be in big trouble. Unfortunately, that he's still around, and he wasn't, and Russia is doing not no, is not doing so bad. Be careful, be careful. This is a war economy right now. I think Trump is finally going to have to go there and talk to this guy. But $37 trillion is the National Reserve says they won't print more money. Well, I hope, no, no, don't say that. Don't say that because if that's what they're going to do, we're in big trouble, right? Who said that? Dirty money. No, 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 don't say that because they're going to have to print more money. They're going to have to print more money because they are going to need it because there's not enough. You're not going to be able to pay it off. It's impossible. So be very careful. I don't think that's no way they could do that. Now the next thing obviously are the tariffs, and there, my friends, I mean on a good point, we're going to collect the U.S. is going to collect $300 billion worth of stuff, and Trump but in the process of doing that, a lot of people are being upset. A lot of relationships are being broken. A lot of political capital is being used. I mean, right now the U.S. is using a lot of political capital with Canada, a lot of political capital with India, a lot of political capital with Mexico, Switzerland, with everyone actually. But I guess you say, well, they're doing it for the sake of doing it, or maybe they have no choice but doing it. And if you understand the facts, and if you look at the situation, and you see these blocks being formed, I will do a video soon on China where they're doing some interesting stuff on the China Sea, where they're those two plane, the big boat carrying those planes. Forget what the name of it is. They have two of them, very modern one, and they are, they're moving around the China Sea back and forth. Okay, and we don't know exactly what's happening down there, but so if you have all these issues with you, and you know that by next year you have another election, and you know you got to deal with all these issues, and you know you don't have that much time, and you really know what's really happening because you've seen the secret files or whatever. And you also know that that lady Maxwell is going to be going out and start talking. Although you already know that she already said that there's nothing to be said, frankly, on anyone. But she found she got herself a better place to be. So although it's not over because now they want her to go into Congress and talk to all these people, that's going to be a lot of damage. That's gonna be a while before everything settles down, everything simmers down. So let me send a message to someone. But yeah. Sorry. Here we go. Okay, so that's the tariff is it's an evolving. And don't forget, when we're talking about 200% tariffs on pharmaceutical item, we're closing down the country to pharmaceutical products, right? So make it here or do something, but these guys are not going to move either. That's going to be there's 12 of them. There's a big group of people, lots of money. Imagine each of these companies make about 30 to 50 billion each. Anyway, as far as Trump, which is a risk number 5, Trump versus Powell, what you should expect there is new governor has been brought in, and the new governor is probably going to be needs to be not voted in, but it needs to go through to the Senate. Needs to have some hearing. Is that going to be done before August? Unlikely. So be careful because you may not get that rate cut, and unfortunately, the market is assuming the rate cut, and that's the problem. The market is assuming a rate cut right now, which is a very dangerous thing to assume, because if you don't get it, um, power, yes, and because basically on the Fed, in terms of Fed governors, you got 7 governors, 4 of them were Biden appointees, or five, and 2 were appointed by Trump, and one kind of got left, so they're going to replace her, and probably with a Trump appointee, obviously. So four versus 3, and the Fed has said that they were going to do 2 rate cuts anyway. So of course, they basically, unfortunately, my concern is they're just waiting to see any kind of inkling in inflation. They're going to say, "Aha, I did tell you." Let's wait for another month, and then the U.S. administration is going to hit the roof, okay? Because that'll be almost insulting. But that's the way it is. So, although it's quite possible that the Fed chair will just leave at this point because he's I don't know what is the point of being there for too long, but we'll see. That's interesting. Now, next, you have the war between Israel and Iran, and I'm sure you heard the news that Israel wants to take over Gaza. And don't forget, all of these items are potential huge risk to the economy and the stock market. Okay. Israel versus Iran, that's on itself, that's a problem because obviously, I told you the reason that's happening is Netanyahu wants to get in there. He wants to keep busy, and obviously, if they're gonna take over Gaza, I mean, that could take. And now, anything can happen to keep fighting. So we're gonna keep fighting down there for a while. China is decoupling with the U.S. That is a fact. Unfortunately, they are moving away from the U.S. slowly, but surely. And the only thing they need the U.S. for really is a consumer. 15% of their stuff is being purchased by U.S. consumer, and they want that. Apple investment, $600 billion. Japan. You see dirty money. That's what I'm talking about. That $550 billion quote unquote investment. Unfortunately, I wish it was different, but that $550 billion investment is not. It's an investment. Let me give you the facts so you understand. That 550 billion is a mix. It's a mix. Let me show you. So basically, that $550 billion fund, they're committing, nothing is really signed, but they're committing $550 billion investment framework tied to reducing reciprocal tariffs. Okay, fine. So that's what you get, your 15%. However, Japan has stated that only 1 to 2% of the $550 billion would be actual equity investments, while the rest would consist of loans and loan guarantees that needs to be repaid. They're not giving the money away. Returns on the investment portion will be split roughly 90% for US on the investment portion, which is only 1 to 2%. Critics, including independent analysts, have called this deal largely a rhetorical construct, arguing that $550 billion figure lacks firm commitments and much of the capital may have been tied as loan rather than direct investments. And you see, that's what they're doing. They basically, and I mean, Trump is, I'm sure that U.S. administration knows that as well. They're not unaware of it, but basically, what are they trying to do? Well, they're trying to get something out of these people, and they're running out of time. So they need some sort of commitment. And you're trying to, I mean, imagine the work that's involved here. That's very, very, very difficult to get it all done at the same time. Very difficult. Now, of course, then we have the inflation. Where is inflation? Listen, inflation is 2.5%. So let's not get carried away here. We're not dying. We're not having a huge amount of inflation. It's 2.5. Is the concern is what's going to happen next. And that's where tariffs come from. Correct. The Trump administration. Then, of course, we have Maxwell. Maxwell could be a lot of damage, I will tell you, because even if she doesn't talk about the president, she could be talking about a bunch of other people, and that could be a problem. And that is something that is of concern, because if she makes too much damage, she will impact the current administration ability to do anything, because they're going to lose the power that they need. They will lose Congress. Congress can say, listen, I want to be reelected. And the MAGA people do not like what's happening, and I'm going with the MAGA people. So I'm sorry, I can't go along with this. And you will lose that. Don't forget, all those tariffs that are being done right now are kind of being done, but frankly, legally speaking, a lot of questions. But if nobody's asking, need the information released? Yes. Oh, you know what? That's what I want to do. Damn it. Hold on. Let me do a poll on this. This is so much fun because somebody's working. I think. Do you want to see the files released? Let's see. Let's see what we get. That should be fun. We have to keep Tammy. Tammy's working, so we want to keep her busy. Hopefully you stop working at 4 o'clock. Wow. 100% so far. That's it? 49 people? Only 4 people voted? Come on, I need to know if you want to see the files released. 5, 6, 7. This is even bigger than the 7. This is actually bigger than the economy. 7 people voted. No, out of the amount of people online right now, that is not too bad. I mean, I so far had 5,200 people go through this room, but yeah, my God, everybody wants to. Everyone wants to. Okay, here's the result. 100% want to see what's in those files. That's a big topic, and I think that right now at the White House, everybody's getting together, and they are out there talking, and they want to know what's happening. Wow, that is something else. Very impressed, I have to say. Okay, my friends. So over the next couple of days, what we're going to have. Okay, Tammy's getting off work at 5. So we're going to keep on going just with Tammy. Okay, so next that we want to talk about is, so the Maxwell case. Why do you think, since it's such a big import, let's talk about the Maxwell case. Why is this, what does this matter to MAGA? Well, the Maxwell case is important to MAGA because I think that there is this idea of all these rich people getting away with it. I think that's the thing. getting away with a tremendous amount of, whatever they did, they think they could get away with it. I think that bothers a lot of people, especially if the economy is not doing well, especially in the environment that we're in. There's something that is visceral about this case, I have to say. But anyway, accountability is core MAGA value. MAGA, and it's interesting, I'm sure not all of you are Trump supporters, but yet all of you want to know. That's amazing. MAGA rallying cry is against the elite abusing power. Epstein network was the epitome of elite abuse and secrecy. Obviously, there was a bunch of presidents, not just U.S. president, by the way, in those meetings. If Trump is seen as soft, silent, or protective, it undercuts MAGA, moral high ground. Opportunity to prove that he's not one of them, obviously. By pursuing full transparency, Trump could demonstrate that he's not part of it. And from my understanding has been that Ghislaine Epstein came out and she basically said that he had nothing to do with it. Of course, they're going to say, no, of course she said that because now, she got moved to a better area. He's going to give her clemency. You can't win. Avoiding hypocrisy. MAGA supporters often call out the DOJ and the FBI. Avoiding hypocrisy. MAGA supporters often call out the DOJ, FBI, and court as politically compromised. If Trump shields Epstein connected figures or block disclosure, it invites accusation of double standards, of course. But then, what's, I think, is incredibly coincidental is that Maureen Comey, her father, obviously, I'm sure you remember him. His father was a former FBI director, and he led the President Trump in 2017. He was fired by President Trump in 2017, and and whom Trump had repeatedly criticized publicly. She was the one that prosecuted Ghislaine Maxwell. She prosecuted Maxwell, his daughter, and she got fired too. I tell you, there's a lot of incredible coincidence in this situation. Tremendous, too many. I mean, it's just amazing. And why was she fired? That's the question everybody's asking. Why was she fired? Well, no one knows. No reason was given by the Department of Justice. No one knew anything. Why? Just don't. Maureen Comey received no formal explanation for dismissal. The decision was communicated via letter referencing presidential powers without elaboration from DOJ officials. 2. Potential political motivations. Observers speculate that the firing may have been politically motivated given her father's contentious history. I don't think so. I don't think he fired the daughter because he didn't like the father. Correct. Wow, obviously. Well, she's basically, and it's not so much to kick back to keep. No, I think the reason they want her out is because if they're going to offer clemency to Ghislaine Maxwell, they don't want Maureen Comey in the middle of all the discussion. Timing, because basically it has to do with the timing amid the Epstein documentation controversy. Her firing followed the DOJ and FBI denial of any existing client list, a position that disappointed section of Trump base. Many critics saw the move as symbolic amid broader pressures over transparency. The message, in her message memo, when she left, she wrote, if a career prosecutor can be fired without reason, fear may seep into decision of those who remain. Fear is a tool of the tyrant, wielding to suppress independent thought. Correct. And Obviously, it is very plausible that Maureen Comey was seen as a roadblock to a potential clemency or pardon for Ghislaine Maxwell. While there is no official confirmation, several circumstantial factors strongly support this possibility. Lead prosecutor, she was a lead prosecutor, like I said, she was deeply involved in trial strategy, evidence presentation, and sentencing recommendation. Her continued presence as SDNY gave credibility and institutional memory to the case, making any reversal, clemency, or pardon legally and politically different. She'd be in the middle. She says, "Guys, what are you doing? Look what they're doing. No, this is not what happened. Oh my God, they're just using this as a reason. That doesn't make any reason at all. That should not be. That's what they're doing. That's exactly what they're doing." Clemency would require institutional cooperation. Coney's firing was sudden. Her firing was sudden and unexplained. She was fired without cause. Because you know what? These people, basically, they think ahead, right? They know that what we're going to do, we're going to talk to her, then we're going to move her there, then probably give her clemency. Let's check what she knows. If it's clean enough, let her talk. You don't know what they're thinking. And I think that's the role here. That's what's happening. That's what they're doing. Anyway, what else do we have? So she's a daughter, and so basically, Trump allies have expressed interest in Maxwell. Trump has never ruled out clemency for Maxwell. He told in 2023, "I've met her numerous times. I wish her well." I don't know exactly what that was. This is a discussion. This is an informed discussion about serious topic, about interesting topics, about forward-looking topic. This is not some kind of trolling topics where people say whatever they want. I want to make sure that we have a discussion here. We're learning something today. You must learn something every day. I always say and by understanding you're learning, and by learning you learn even more. And once you stop learning, then it's all over. But while it's still going, make sure you understand what's happening. That's what I said. And there's so much information going out there. It is incredible. So as far as what's her name, Maxwell, you need to know that a Bureau of Prison official confirmed a transfer to a minimum security prison. But you need to know that it is highly unusual not to have the Bureau of Marshal Service. Usually you always have the Marshal Service involved. In this case, no one was involved. Okay, something happens there that's a little strange. Maybe because you don't understand it, you think it's strange. The transfers matter because the transfers was considered unusual because it was executed directly by prison bureau staff, not by the usual Marshal Service. Victims and legal advocacy groups denounced the move, labeling it a betrayal and a hint of a cover-up. When you don't understand, you always think there's cover-up. But then again, look what happened with the BLS, right? Nothing happened. I mean, the woman left, and the woman was, the Bureau of Labor Statistics. She made two huge blunders beyond repair, and they say, she did it on purpose. Maybe, the job is difficult. Who knows? I mean, you need to be aware of it. And you remember what Socrates said. Socrates says every day when you wake up, you should know that you don't know. So there's no surprise at the end of the day or disappointment. Now, what could Ghislaine Maxwell actually come out and say? That is a question. Let me tell you exactly um, what could she I'd written something of that. What could she actually come out and um, what does she know? Well, here's what she knows. You have to realize that she is not when she went to trial, right? When she was involved, when she went to trial, you're going to say, well, how come she didn't say everything she knew? Well, no, that's not the idea. It's a trial, right? So therefore, you want to limit the amount of years you're going to spend in jail. So you're not going to tell them about everything. You're just going to tell them what you think is important and what you think is important for you, so that so you're not going to tell about all the things that have happened. But she probably knew a lot, and that's why she wants clemency, or at least immunity when she talks, so she doesn't get involved and get more years on top of what she has. Maxwell never publicly named individuals who participated in or benefited from Jeffrey Epstein trafficking network, although she gave a list of 100 people very recently. She participated, she was present at Epstein's property. She appeared in flight logs. Why was she with these guys? Well, she had issue with her father, quite frankly, who himself died on a boat, drowned in the middle of the ocean by himself. Kind of weird. Why withheld without trial? Prosecutor limited the scope to Maxwell's product, not a full conspiracy trial. Naming unindicted people can trigger defamation suit or mistrials. There's a long-standing speculation about Epstein and Maxwell. Secretly recorded guests for blackmail or leverage. They had a system of video monitoring. They maintain archives of tapes, CD, photos, where materials were stored, who was recorded and why. International ties and intelligence links. She's tied up the kazoo in this thing, right? They were concerned that she might have been involved in intelligence connection, the Mossad, MI6. Maxwell's father, Robin Maxwell, was himself long suspected of having ties to multiple intelligence services, and the way he died was very, very strange. Whether she or Epstein worked as intermediaries or informants, who knows? If any intelligence entity protected them or used their network, they were probably operating in another country, financial network and sponsors. I mean, this guy, when he died, he was worth $600 million. And he got involved in some pretty nasty type of situations. So he had $185 million in hedge fund, $56 million in cash, $113 million in real estate. I mean, what are you going to do with that kind of money, right? No way you would have that much money and nothing is going on. No way. You knew a lot of things, my friend. You knew a lot of people and you didn't talk. What else is it? Then all the money basically went to, not all of it, but some of it went to the compensation fund. So that is quite incredible. In any case, so over the next couple of days, what are we going to have? Unless somebody wants to talk about something very specific or wants to know something. Let me see, how does the room feel? We're not addicted to these drugs. Call me gone. Have a good one. Enjoy the conversation. Robin, we're going to be leaving soon. Pretty soon. I know that Tammy is still working. Feel bad. But we shall be back tomorrow. Oh, no, not tomorrow. It's going to have to be Sunday. I need to go to New York City again, so but I'll be back. And so what are we going to talk about? Take a look at the channel. There's a huge amount of content that needs to be addressed. I mean, we need to talk about Stephen Marin, which is a new Fed guy coming in, and what it means. Intel CEO has huge connection with China, and that's a problem. There's going to be a tariff on gold, believe it or not. AI is reshaping the economy. This is good because I want you to understand these things and know what's going on. There's some war game going on with China and the China Sea. Can trade wars lead to real wars? It has happened in the past, my friends. We'll talk about Caterpillar and GM and all these things. So we have a bunch of things. Take a look at the thing, and I will see you very soon. Again, thank you very much for the attention. Tammy, hope you enjoy the rest of the day. Enjoy the